I listened to a podcast yesterday with a chef, and the chef was talking about decision making in the kitchen and whether or not the chef should criticize, let's say, a line cook uh, for making a bad decision. And so one of the things that the chef brought up is, does that line cook have the same information that the chef has, to be able to make that decision, whatever the decision may be. And he was talking about it in the perspective of, you don't want the line cook trying to just read the chef's mind all the time. You want the line cook to be empowered to make decisions. So it's a lot like coaching. As a coach, you don't want players playing in a way where they're just simply trying to read your mind and do what you're thinking on the sideline. You want to empower the players to actually make decisions based on what they see in the game. And so the information that a coach may have and the information that a player may have are different. And so oftentimes, a coach can see ahead of time what's about to happen because the coach is experienced, and the coach can read the play and anticipate what's going to happen given the information and the environment, whereas the player may not be as experienced yet, especially if we're talking about youth or high school basketball. The player may not be as experienced, may not have that ability to anticipate based on a subtle cue, what's going to happen next. So maybe that player is a step late to get to a ball or to get open for a shot or something like that. So the player doesn't have all the information that the coach has. And so in that respect, the decision that the player makes may be different than the decision that the coach would make in that situation, because they're looking at it from different perspectives. They have different information, and based on their information, the player may be making the best possible decision based on what the player sees and the information that the player perceives. But because the information that the coach sees and perceives is different, he or she perceives the decision to be wrong, whereas the player perceives the decision to be correct. And I think it can work the other way as well. The player may actually see something different or better that the coach may be missing on the sideline. So one of the things I always like to do when players come off the court is to ask them what they saw. And oftentimes, in close games, I'm going to ask my team what play they want to run, because they have a good perspective of what's working and what's not, and where they think that they can beat a defense, because they're actually in the situation. They're in the environment. They're playing. They're battling. They see what's happening in those small battles, man-to-man, woman-to-woman battles in the middle of a game. And I'm looking at it from an outside perspective, trying to see everything, and I might not see everything from the sideline. So my information, again, might be different than the information of the players, and in some cases the information of the players may be better than what I see. And so I want to go with what they see and what they have confidence in doing, based on the information and based on the situation and the environment in which we're in, as opposed to what I'm seeing on the outside. So I think this is an important distinction to make when we're thinking about decision making of players, and especially when we're going to be critical of a player or critical of a decision that a player makes. Is the information that that player perceives different than the information that we perceive? And so is the problem, is the breakdown, how we view information, how we perceive information, what we see, or was it actually a bad decision based on the same information? I think if we can differentiate these two things, we can help players a lot more with their decision making and development, as they grow their games and and gain more experience, so that they can anticipate and hopefully see the same things that an experienced, which tends to be a coach, but an inexperienced player might see in the same situation.